So this is my Baroque cello. It was made around 1730 in Italy, in Perugia, by a man called Giacomo Gavelli. It's a very fine instrument. I feel incredibly lucky to have it. It is in a Baroque setup, and the main or the most obvious difference probably is the absence of a spike or end pin, and that is simply because that wasn't invented yet in the 18th century. That came much later, around the middle of the 19th century, when the role of the cello changed from being mainly a bass instrument, meaning being used in the lower positions on a bass line, to being more of a soloistic instrument where the player had to whiz around in higher positions, and then the spike was invented to create additional support. But in the Baroque era, all cellists just played like this. And I often get asked if that's not tiring to have to hold the cello between my legs. But it's not really. I just place the legs in a certain way and the cello sits in it. I don't have to press or anything. It's actually quite a comfortable position. Another important difference between Baroque string instruments and modern string instruments is the material of the strings we use. These strings are made out of gut, sheep gut in this case, and the upper two strings are unwound gut, just washed, hopefully carefully, and spun, and the bottom two strings, the lower notes, they have a gut core and are wound with silver to make them heavier so that they produce a lower sound. And compared to modern metal strings, these gut strings make a more textured sound. It's raspy in comparison. If you think of the sound as peanut butter, the gut strings would be the rough kind with bits, more textured, and you feel more of the original material. Another difference, maybe less obvious, are the angles on the instrument. You can see here that the bridge on the cello is fairly low, and that has changed over the last 300 years or so. The bridges have become higher, and therefore the angle of the neck has become steeper to increase pressure on the instrument and to make the instrument sound louder and project more in bigger concert halls. So in the Baroque era we have less pressure on the instrument. Also the gut strings play a role in that. They're more elastic than modern strings and create less pressure. So to me it always feels like the instrument can breathe more because there's not so much pressure on it. It projects less, it's simply less loud, but the sound is more flexible and defined. The bow has also changed quite a lot in the last 300 years. You can see here that the shape is convex and the tip is very fine. That means all the weight of the bow is at the frog where I hold the bow, and the tip is very light. And that results in the down bows and up bows sounding very different, and that's how it was supposed to be. Today, with a modern bow, the goal is to have an evenly sustained sound from the frog to the tip, and for the up bow and the down bow to sound the same. But in the Baroque era, that was not what was wanted. The difference between the down and the up bow was very much desired and something the music asked for. Of course, the composers had these instruments in mind when they wrote the music, and we at the OE think this is the best way to get close to what the composer had in mind at the time of writing. So for us it doesn't feel like we're playing old music. We're we're making old music new, and I hope that's how it feels for our audiences too.